Alright, I just need to bump this up into 4K and then increase the exposure a bunch, and done!
You now have Maniac review Sonic Colors Ultimate.
At the time of its release, Sonic Colors was way more important than I think a lot of people gave it credit for. Sonic 06 pretty much devastated all the goodwill the franchise had built up to that point, so it was clear to Sega that in order for the Blue Idiot to be relevant, there had to be some major changes. Sonic Unleashed released a few years earlier with a brand new engine and gameplay that brought the classic sense of speed from the original titles into 3D, with a focus on a 2D plane with a bit more traditional platforming and full 3D environments meant to sort of feel like an amusement park ride, going as fast as you can, keeping control of Sonic. And the cool thing about the gameplay is the fact that it would switch between those two styles pretty much seamlessly. Unleashed kept its emphasis on maintaining a high top speed with a boost to clear levels, but every sun has its moon. People still weren't the most keen on Sonic Unleashed, mainly because it did carry over many issues from that era of Sonic, like introducing a new gameplay style that's counterintuitive to everything that makes your game fun. The Hedgehog wasn't the worst beat-em-up game from that time, but stages would go on for way too long and they ended up feeling like the main style compared to the relatively short day stages. Sonic Colors was the follow-up to that game and further streamlined the gameplay. It significantly slowed Sonic down to put more of an emphasis on the platforming. It added a double jump and tightened the controls to help Sonic feel less slippery. Hell, sometimes full stages would be in 2D. Controversial opinion, it was exactly what Sonic the Hedgehog needed at the time, throwing away all of their convoluted lore to just give us a fun, dumb adventure. Colors set the tone and direction for the entire franchise afterward, with Sonic Generations taking the idea to its logical extreme by separating the 2D and 3D style and pushing and refining both styles to stand on their own. The 2D side of the adventure went on to give us Sonic Mania, a beautiful recreation of what the original 2D games were accomplishing, but with a modern flair, with some of the best level design in the entire franchise. Sonic the Hedgehog has gone on to experiment time and time again, to varying degrees of success. But Sonic Colors was always remembered as the progenitor of what this entire era of Sonic would become. And despite what people think of later entries of the series, Sonic Colors was always remembered in a more positive light. And now here comes your drunk Uncle Sega to shoot that memory in the face like when he ran over your dog on the way home from prom. This is Sonic Colors Ultimate. Now, I'm not gonna say that the core of this game is bad, because if you wanted Sonic Colors with a bit more bullshit, there you go. But I will not defend how cheaply put together and shoddily made this entire remaster is, because Sonic Colors has been stuck on the Wii for the better part of a decade, and it deserves better. Let me get this out of the way right now. At the very heart of this game, what you do get is a significantly upscaled 4K 60 frames per second version of Sonic Colors that runs smoothly. So that's all you wanted? Good for you. It's here. Tune out all the noise. I'm playing it on PC, and once I'm in the levels, I haven't had any major issues. Level design is still fun, and stages don't overstay their welcome. Wisp powers let levels feel super open-ended once they're all unlocked. Tilt your head and squint, and you'll be having a good time, but then a level will take too long to load. Or the menu music restarts just because you selected an option. Or a cutscene plays, and you remember just how much better the original game looked without all of this bloom. Contrary to popular belief, Sonic Colors isn't actually built on the Hedgehog engine. According to Sega themselves, the Wii is just not powerful enough to actually handle it. So I believe that this is built on the same engine that was used to power the Wii version of Sonic Unleashed. So this remaster could have been the perfect opportunity to actually port over the game into the Hedgehog engine. Yeah, it would have been a lot more work, but it's Sonic's 30th anniversary, Sega. At least pretend to give a shit. Sonic Forces may not be the prettiest Sonic game, but the Hedgehog Engine 2 can be used to create some beautiful visuals. The entire cast of Sonic Colors was already made for Sonic Forces, so why not just put them to good use? Now, I know it's a lot more work to actually port over the game, but doesn't Sonic deserve something better? But instead, I can barely get a rating on what the game engine actually is. Because you boot up the game and it tells you that it's using the Blind Squirrel engine, but people looking into the code says it's on the Godot engine. So I guess that it's an open source engine that Blind Squirrel Games built their engine on top of, but I guess they were trying to hide that fact because they never actually gave credit to that original engine and got called out for it so much on Twitter that they ended up patching credits in. The game's credits are so so long that it just flat out runs out of music. I'm not about to check their work. But why was Blind Squirrel trying to hide it? They're proud enough of what they've done to call it their own engine. Every time you boot up the game, it starts with a splash screen for the engine. Why make it seem like as if you built the engine fully yourselves? It reminds me of how the Bubsy 2fer still had code from an open source version of a SNES emulator that they had no permission to use from the developer and had to quickly remove it before they got caught. Blind Squirrel Games as a studio just does remasters. That's their thing. And to their credit, most of their work is really good. They mainly go in and polish up some of the graphics and sometimes make the whole experience a bit more modern without sacrificing the core of the game. Blind Squirrel helped with the Mass Effect Legendary Collection, they created the BioShock Collection, and also updated the Borderlands Game of the Year edition with improvements from Borderlands 2. It's unreal what they all have in common. Blind Squirrel is a developer for hire that mostly works on stuff that was on the Unreal Engine, with most of their ports that aren't on the engine seen as some of the worst versions of those games. WWE 2K18's Switch port was handled by them and was considered absolutely unplayable at launch. Hey, that sounds familiar. And Sonic Colors code was in a game from 2010 on the Nintendo Wii, using a proprietary engine.
I bit off more than I can chew.
Now, I'm not a programmer, but I imagine that Unreal 3 is a lot more friendly to apply updates to than an in-house engine from a developer whose success rate for a not broken game feels like they roll a d20 before development. Thankfully, Sonic Colors as a game is relatively stable. It loads quickly, the frame rate rarely dips below 30, and it went with style over fidelity. The game was on the Wii. It couldn't do much. But they used that to their advantage to create levels that were breathtaking for the console. Fun little roller coaster rides, sometimes literally through levels that feel like designers just went buck wild. And when it wasn't doing that, the theme would create great backdrops for shorter levels. The Wii had been out for a while. Good developers knew how to get the most out of it when they needed to. So from what I was able to understand, and mind you, I could be completely wrong about this, Blind Squirrel used their own version of the Godot engine, which they called the Blind Squirrel engine, to import assets from the Wii version and polish up the models and apply new lighting over it. Or the original game's engine is intact and the Blind Squirrel / Godot engine is running on top of it like the way the Halo remasters do it. Listen, I've spent days researching this and none of it actually matters because all I really need to say is whatever the hell this whole thing is introduced a hell of a lot of problems that just weren't in the original Sonic Colors. Sonic Colors was great because it was really fast-paced, never letting stuff overstay their welcome. The worst stages were like 30 seconds. If you hated it, it'd be over soon. But the stages get a lot more annoying when load times are just as long as they are. I played this game on a PC with a 3070 in it, and all I'm trying to say is this shouldn't happen. But like I said, at the very, very core, it's still just Sonic Colors. Everything, and I mean everything, that Blind Squirrel added seems to be on top of that core. And that is what I think is making Sonic Colors have such weird loading times. Because it isn't just waiting for levels to start. It's also any menu that wasn't in the original game. You go through the world map and it's exactly as I remember it. Sonic doesn't jump out of levels anymore, but you get what I mean. You go to the options satellite, the one part of the menu that is 100% brand new, and it lags to open. You try to switch to a different menu choice and it lags the next option. It's 2021, how are menus difficult? Every time I open the customization menu, the music restarts. Speaking of music, more often than not, a lot of it just doesn't seem to load. If you use a Wisp, it's like flipping a coin on if the song's actually gonna play. Sometimes entire levels won't load Wisp music. So those 30-second stages that want you to use Wisp powers the entire time, sometimes I'll just get no music until the very end. How is music one of the most consistently broken things in a video game in current year? The original game didn't have any of these problems. What is this engine you built? Do not besmirch my good name! The models themselves look touched up and really nice, and I can tell that these are the same assets from the original game. Like if you look at Sweet Mountain, you can see the jelly beans are sprites, something that would be a visual shortcut to make the game look pretty on the Wii. But the lighting doesn't really look the best. Everything just looks overexposed, and that makes it aesthetically different than what was intended. You can even see that in the cutscenes, which aren't done in engine, but seem to be really terrible upscales of the original cutscenes. Characters start to look all bubbly if they aren't front and center. Let's just add that to the running list of the other cheap stuff in the remaster. It's not even that bad considering. Through the cutscenes, you can see the original color palette, and I just kind of find it more appealing. This kind of just gives it that old cheap Sonic look. I'm not gonna say it. The bloom is cranked up to such a degree that it just feels unnatural. I'm not gonna say it. The only time this really works is in Starlight Carnival, where the entire point was to be super bright and blinding. But Sweet Mountain just feels like somebody put the wrong settings on a camera. You know what I mean? You know, I'm just gonna stop dancing around this. Sonic has shiny fur. Sonic has shiny fucking fur. Everything is super bloomy and overexposed, and Sonic is just reflecting all of it, making it look like he has super shiny fur. We fixed this in 2006! This may seem like a really small nitpick, but because of the upscaled cutscenes from the original game, it just gives everything a really inconsistent art direction. Like with the final boss. Real talk, this is one of my favorite final bosses in the entire Sonic franchise. Using your own abilities against you in battle, love that shtick. But they slightly tweaked the model of it, and honestly, it does look better. So in the cutscene the Nega-Wisp armor is introduced, it looks like exactly how you remember it. But the instant the battle actually starts, it has an entirely different look. Very similar, but the bright evil eyes are distractingly different. And honestly, that's just where most of the problems lie, because no matter what you've heard or what even I've been talking about the entire time, this game isn't as bad as people make it out to be. I have to squint to see what the laser wisp is aiming at because the aiming reticle is darkened with the screen. The drill wisps show exactly where things are supposed to spawn before they do, and the pipes are clear, so you need to pay attention to their outline so you won't run into them. It isn't as bad as what people are making it out to be. The problem is, everything that's good in the game is really, really good, and everything new that's added is so inconsistent. Sonic Colors Ultimate is a good game because Sonic Colors is a good game. Everything bad in the remaster is stuff that was added into it. Each level looks visually different than what was originally intended, and that is a normal thing for a remaster like this. But the problem with Colors Ultimate is that it gives us a direct comparison to the original graphics in every cutscene. So it just feels like there's a lot of visual inconsistency within the game itself. The original idea for Colors came out of the success of Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Games, so the game wanted to be a lot more animated and more Mario-y than past games. And that cartoony direction for the menus is preserved in the game beautifully. But because those were made at such high quality, it makes Blind Squirrel's additions feel so tacked on. If you get 10 red rings, you see them collected into the Sonic simulator to let you know that there's a new level unlocked. If you unlock 15 red rings in a single area, it unlocks a new Rival Rush mode, which just pops in a window that looks so visually different from everything else in the game that it feels like a pop-up trying to take your data. And Metal Sonic is a tacked-on addition that is only a visual indicator for a time trial ghost rather than an actual race. You cannot interact with Metal Sonic in any way, and he continues through the level clipping and floating unnaturally through level geometry. And most of the time, the tracker on screen is broken anyway. So this mode could have been dumped in favor of just your traditional time trial mode, and honestly probably would have been better for it. Metal Sonic isn't even integrated into the game's narrative at all. Hell, they animated some cute shorts to give Metal Sonic context in the game itself, and with a slight change in script, these could have just been cutscenes used into the game to justify the mode's inclusion. As it stands now, the whole thing just feels lazy and haphazard. When you do a Rival Rush, the game doesn't even try to add any visual coherency to the rest of it. It's a pop-up that feels tacked on. This looks like a thumbnail somebody whipped up for their YouTube channel, not a remaster for a 10-year-old game. The new Jade Wisp just really isn't exciting to me. All they do is let you access new areas of stages, most of which used to be inaccessible, but despite making it a defining feature of this remaster, they didn't bug fix many of the areas we'd be accessing. These were blocked by invisible walls or were never meant to be seen in the main game. There were so many moments where the game just bugs out and despawns assets because they were never supposed to be seen from where you were, and the game is still taking into effect ways to limit strains on the hardware like it's still a Wii title. The one cool thing I will give to the game are the park tokens and the customization that it offers. Park tokens give me way more incentive to want to explore and take different routes than in the original game. And customizing Sonic is a cool addition to the game. You can tell it was added because it was one of the most universally beloved things from Sonic Forces, so Sega probably demanded that it be added to the remaster too. But the problem is pretty much anything you can unlock sucks. Out of all of the options you can get for Sonic, the only ones I felt looked any good were the galactic gloves and shoes. The auras all look kinda weird, and the boosts don't feel distinct enough at the speed the game plays at. The player icons only really affect your icon in Rival Rush, so like, why? The only cosmetics I think look really, really cool are the movie Sonic ones, and no, I'm not about to spend $5 on that because I didn't pre-order it. I love the extra song remixes now make it so that every act has their own unique music, except for Planet Wisp, because again, all of this is put on top of the game, and I feel like it's what added to the load times that were originally pretty quick on the Wii version. Because this game is not that graphically intensive. My old college laptop could probably run it, and that thing crashes opening Twitter. See? Sonic Colors deserved better. 2021 was Sonic's 30th anniversary, and the only thing Sega did to celebrate their mascot was pawn off a glorified port to a studio that managed to botch that. I would have loved if this was just a straight port as a way to preserve this game on future platforms, but instead, a great game is bogged down with dumb additions that in the end add nothing to the core experience, or worse, outright change how it was supposed to be experienced. But at the heart of the entire thing, it's the game that you loved, that dumb little Wii title that signaled to us at the time that Sonic was headed in a good direction. Sonic Team had a vision and they were testing out some of their ideas before they poured it into their big anniversary game. But Sonic Colors Ultimate is more reflective of Sonic after that big anniversary game. Overall, fine ideas on paper that got rushed, underfunded, and tossed out knowing it'll sell regardless. Listen, the original Sonic Colors is like $10, and I know most of you still have your Wii or your Wii U lying around, and even if you don't, Dolphin can push this game to be 4K 60 natively, so I'm not gonna say it, but anyway, I'm Leo. If you want to see more, click this. If you want to subscribe, click this. I'm just gonna sit here and wait for the comment section to become the war zone it always is whenever I make a Sonic the Hedgehog video. Anyway, thank you guys, and I'll see you next time.